Those who criticize our generation forget who raised it, and also forget, or just don't have a clue, what position they have left us in. So it is our turn now to fix what has been done, and we must stand up, and we must stand up quickly for our next generation, for our grandchildren, before it's too late. So I just want to ask you one question, and that question is, what does freedom mean to you?
And it's been said that you should never doubt that a small group of people who have firm convictions can change the world, because that's the only way it's ever happened before. Liberty doesn't come from our government. Sometimes they think they're passing it out, and sometimes they are always restricting as if it's their liberty rather than our liberty.
The greatest danger when we accept the notion that the government's supposed to take care of us from cradle to grave and we're supposed to be the policemen of the world is that ultimately it's done at the expense of personal liberty. The purpose of all government should be the protection of individual liberty for each and every one of them.
Military now can arrest any American citizen, no lawyer, no charges, no trial, can be put in prison indefinitely.
If you study history and you know that you allow this kind of abuse of power by the federal government, I fear what happens to us down the road.
Change this country, go back to our roots, decide that we want to live in a free country and not in a country rapidly drifting toward totalitarianism. We need to reverse the course.
What if it were possible to have a real game changer? What if we need a Ron Paul to preserve and protect our freedoms? What if we can make elections matter again?
His big thing, and I think it's an impressive thing to say, is he supports the Constitution.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
And for that, people call him crazy.
He's got these kind of kooky ideas. He's not only unacceptable inside the Republican Party, he's unacceptable in America.
They are out to get this guy off the map and out of the way and move somebody in from the establishment.
They call us dangerous. Of course we're dangerous. We're dangerous to the status quo, and the people have been ripping us off. We have permitted our government to undermine our civil liberties, all in the name of safety and security. Never sacrifice your liberties for safety or security, because you'll end up with neither. This is what's happened the last 4 years. The evidence is out on the table. The monetary system doesn't work. The foreign policy doesn't work. Leads to endless wars. The economic system is deeply in debt.
Once we strip the rights from you, you will pay hell to get them back.
This document is the only thing that's going to save us, and if Barack Obama refuses to follow it, as he has demonstrated time and time again, nothing's going to change, folks.
By active duty military personnel by the candidate. Herman Cain, $6,223. Now remember, these numbers are coming from reports that may be, if anything, overstating these numbers at this point. But Mitt Romney, not even coming up to Cain there for active duty military contributions, $5,000. Michelle Bachmann, bit of a late start this round, okay, $2,550. Newt Gingrich, whose campaign is imploding, I don't know if that was by accident there, $1,025. Pawlenty, all of $250 from active duty military. Rick Santorum, $250 also. Gary Johnson, sadly, none for his position. Total there of those other candidates, so to speak, $15,398. Sure sounds like a lot, doesn't it? Well, there's one other candidate who you might have noticed well, I don't know if you're watching the mainstream media, you might not have noticed that he was omitted from that list. Let's see, how much did Ron Paul get in this last quarter from active duty military? Oh my gosh, $36,739.79. No surprise, actually, that this was the case, far outstripping all other Republican presidential candidates put together, as was the case 4 years ago. But let's see, let's compare this to, who's the other guy running for president in 2012? Oh yeah, $28,833.99 for the president himself, including all the donations from the Marines, the Air Force, the Navy, the Army, whatever that other branch is, to the Commander-in-Chief. Ron Paul is their choice. But let's take a look at the numbers from 2007 here for a second, comparing Ron Paul, John McCain, Mitt Romney, Rudy Giuliani, Mike Huckabee, and Fred Thompson. There's a little flashback. Total from the entire campaign back 4 years ago. Again, Ron Paul, until the end of the primary season, Ron Paul had more campaign contributions from active duty service members than all other primary candidates put together, including Barack Obama.
We're into wars that are costing us trillions of dollars. Those trillions of dollars should have been left in the economy to build jobs and produce prosperity here at home.
Ron Paul makes a lot of sense, and more people ought to listen to him.
There's nothing wrong with what the founders talked about. They talked about having friendships and trading, getting along with people, and staying out of the entangling alliance in the internal affairs of foreign nations when it's none of our business.
He is getting pretty close to serious isolation.
They believe that we have this moral responsibility to use force to go around the world and say, you will do it our way or else. The people don't like us propping up their dictators no more than we would like it if a foreign country came in here and propped up a dictator in our country.
Thomas Jefferson lives. He's Ron Paul.
There is a divide between the war on terror and criminal law. But is there? 763 warrantless wiretaps.
The FBI monitoring young children.
The Patriot Act, found unconstitutional by 5 different federal judges, permits federal agents from the FBI to the TSA to write their own search warrants. It was intended to let agents cut corners.
The Patriot Act is an attack on our liberties in the Fourth Amendment. It does not solve the problems that we face. We cannot protect liberty by taking liberty away from the American people.
It's a bill in the U.S. Senate called the National Defense Authorization Act. It gives the president the authority to indefinitely imprison people without charge or trial.
This is major. This says that the military can arrest an American citizen.
Do you want to have the government have the ability to send you to Guantanamo Bay for indefinite detention?
When they say, I want my lawyer, you tell them, shut up. You tell them, shut up.
Governor Romney, as president, would you have signed the National Defense Act as written?
Yes, I would have, and I do believe that it's appropriate.
Iran does not have an air force that can come here, just like we did in Iraq. Build up the war propaganda. There was no Al-Qaeda in Iraq, and they had nuclear weapons, and we had to go in. I'm sure you supported that war as well. Okay. It's time we quit this. It's time. It's trillions of dollars we're spending on these wars.
What's with the smirk and the eye roll? The guy gives it, the crowd goes nuts, and you do one of these. There goes crazy Uncle Ron, babbling about the unsustainability of multiple wars.
Bad about this. In countries that you put sanctions on, you are more likely to fight them. I say a policy of peace is free trade, stay out of their internal business, don't get involved in these wars, and just bring our troops home.
Congressman Paul in the civilian courts. Could you please tell Congressman Paul why he's wrong? Well, because simply terrorists who commit acts against United States citizens, people who are from foreign countries who do that, do not have any right on under our Constitution to Miranda rights. We've also seen that Guantanamo Bay has yielded significant information. In fact, we've learned that that led to the capture and the killing of bin Laden. This is a tool that we need to have in order to be able to prosecute the new type of war, the new type of warfare, and the new type of terrorism that this country is dealing with.
Seconds, Congressman Paul.
Well, I think she turns our rule of law on its head. She says that the terrorists don't deserve protection under our courts, but therefore a judgment has to be made. They're ruled a terrorist. Who rules them a terrorist? I thought our courts recognized that you had to be tried, and we've done this. And we've brought individuals back from Pakistan and other places. We've given them a trial in this country, over 300, or at least near 300. We tried and put them in prison. So this idea that we have to turn on its head and reject the rule of law, we already are at the point where this administration, please let me finish. I have to say, this administration already has accepted the principle that when you assume somebody is a terrorist, they can be targeted for assassination, even American citizens. That affects all of us eventually. You don't want to translate our rule of law into a rule of mob rule.
Senator Santorum.
Our country has defaulted 3 different times. They promised at one time during the Civil War to pay in gold. They refused to. In the 30s, they promised to pay in gold. They refused to. And then in 1971, they promised to pay foreigners in gold. We defaulted, and we stuck it to them. So once again, we're going to default. We're defaulting every single day. That's what your prices are doing. Prices go up. They're defaulting on your money. So we need to look at the Federal Reserve System.
You have to know why we have problems in this country. Why do we have boom periods and bust periods? It is related to something very, very important. If you want to understand economics and you want prosperity, you have to understand the mischief of the Federal Reserve System, and we have to change it.
We learned the Fed secretly gave Wall Street banks over $7.7 trillion. Where did the Fed get that $7.7 trillion? They created most of it from nothing. The Fed takes our freedom and gives it to the banks. Let's take our freedom back.
If we have a right to our life and our liberty, we should have a right to keep the fruits of our labor as well.
You say Ron Paul is, quote, dangerous?
We are dangerous to the status quo of this country.
Ron Paul had perhaps the most enthusiastic pep rally last night.
His supporters view him as actually more than a Republican. He's a messenger for something.
There's no way they're going to stop the momentum that we have started.
All you have to do is let your voice be heard.